Hello everyone, welcome to another English Solutions for Business and Life video, Full Blast Level A1.1, Module 3, It's My Life. Today we will be looking at present simple and how to form it in the third person, as well as present simple with WH questions, which we will see what they are up next, adverbs of frequency lastly. So let's begin. First, present simple. There are a couple of rules that we use to conjugate present simple with the third person, but we will first look at how to use present simple. What is present simple? Well, we use the present simple for habits or actions that happen regularly, such as every day or every week or every certain amount of time. First, now, let's look at how to conjugate it with the third person. So, most of the verbs will add an S at the end. For example, I speak will become he speaks. Same with I like, it would become he likes. Then again, verbs that end in double S, SH, CH, X, or O will take an ES at the end. Like I watch, it would become she watches. Those verbs that end in a consonant and that have a Y after it will drop the Y and be added IES at the end. For example, I study would become he studies. But those verbs that do not have a consonant before the Y and have a vowel instead, like play, as you can see, A is a vowel, will just add an S at the end. For example, I play would become he plays. So now let's look at some examples. In the morning, John, let's talk about John, he gets up, he takes a shower, he eats breakfast, and he goes to school. Gets up is the third person form for get up. As you can see, we added an S after the verb. Takes a shower follows the same rule. Take adds an S. Eats breakfast, we add another S. Goes to school is the third person form for go. And since it ends with an O, we add an ES at the end. Now, in the afternoon, John gets home, does his homework, eats dinner, and plays video games. As you can see, get, and like we saw last time, is conjugated or formed with the third person by adding an S at the end. Does is a verb, like do, that ends with an O, so we add an ES at the end. Eats, we just add an S at the end. And plays, like we saw before, since a vowel is before the Y, we'll just add an S at the end. At night, John brushes his teeth, goes to bed. Brushes is the third person form for brush. Since it ends with SH, we add an ES at the end. Same goes with go. We add an ES at the end because it ends with O. Now let's look at present simple with WH questions. When do we use these questions? Well, we already saw WH questions before, like who, which we use to ask questions about people, what, which we use to ask questions about things, animals, or actions, where, which we use to ask questions about places, and we use when to ask about time or when something happens. So as you can see, all of these questions are used to ask questions or request information. For example, what do you do after school? Well, I play tennis, could be an answer. When do you eat lunch? At 12 p.m. As you see, these answers are specific. Here, what is asking for an activity, and when is asking for a time. What do you do after school? I play tennis after school. When do you eat lunch? I eat lunch at 12 p.m. or midday. But then we have do or does questions. When we use these questions, we normally have a yes or no answer. Do you go to the movies on the weekend? No, I don't. Here we are asking whether we do a specific activity regularly or as a habit. And since we don't go to the movies on the weekends, we just answer no and politely say I don't at the end to finish the answer. Let's look at another question. What do you do on your spare time? We're talking about hobbies. So, I like to go fishing. Could be an answer. I usually go swimming. I sometimes make model planes. I always surf the net on my free time. All of these are talking about specific actions that happen regularly, and so the answers have to be also specific. But in the following example, do you normally play basketball? You could say no, never, or to sound more polite and continue the conversation, you could say no, I never play basketball. Or yes, sometimes. Here, we're talking about how often we do stuff. Or, you could also say frequency. What's the frequency of our actions? For this, we use adverbs of frequency. Adverbs of frequency are used when we talk about how often we do something, and we place them before the main verb or after the verb to be. So we can understand this better, let's look at some examples. John always listens to music. This is a third person, so the verb has to be in the third person form. Listen ends with a consonant, and it normally, or just like other normal verbs, when conjugated with the third person, we add an S at the end. He always listens to music. We will arrange the adverbs of frequency from most often to least often. In this case, always is the adverb of frequency, and it goes before the main verb. This means that whenever we see John, he will be listening to music because he always listens to music. I am always early for school. In this case, because we use be, or a form of the verb to be, we place always or the adverb of frequency after the verb. So now, let's look at another example. Mario is usually collecting coins. Here, we again use a form of the verb to be, and this time we use usually, which is less often than always. My mom often does the laundry. Often is another adverb of frequency, and it is less often than usually. Here we used does the laundry as the action, and so the adverb of frequency is placed before the action. Dad sometimes washes the car. Here we have another adverb of frequency, sometimes, and washes the car would be the action. So, sometimes goes before the action. And lastly, the least often adverb of frequency, Rose never goes to the movies. Never means that if you ask Rose, she has not once gone to the movies. Here, the action is going to the movies. So again, the adverb of frequency is placed before the action. In this module, we saw a lot of different activities. We saw some daily routines, which are mentioned or usually done, talked about with the present simple form of verbs, such as brushing teeth, taking a shower, having breakfast, or going to bed. In the module, we also saw different sports, such as playing basketball, going swimming, and playing tennis. We also saw a couple of chores, which are activities we do in the house, like doing laundry, washing the car, cleaning our room, and doing housework. We also saw some spare time activities, such as listening to music, surfing the net. And in the module, we also saw going out shopping, going to the movies, playing chess, playing board games, etc. Lastly, we saw some hobbies, which are also some spare time activities but that most people like to do alone, such as going fishing, collecting coins, or comics, or stamps, making model planes, among other activities that we saw in the module. So, if you would like to see all the activities, you could look at them in the book, where they are represented in different exercises and examples, like we saw today, such as what John did during the day or his daily routines, and some different activities that are answers to WH questions. As you saw, other activities are things that we do in our spare time, like going fishing, going swimming, making model planes as we talked about earlier, and surfing the net. So that's it for the vocabulary and grammar part for this video and this module. We hope you enjoyed this video, and we will see you next time. Thank you very much.